How do you even know about that?
I know everything, Eddie.
You do?
Everything about you.
How?
I am inside your head. You are a loser, Eddie.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. It's time for another comic book review. Today I'm talking about Venom 200, also known as Venom 35, also known as the Swan Song, the final episode, or issue, as you would, for Ryan Stegman and Donny Cates' Venom run. Been exciting stuff. I've personally enjoyed it. I know there are some other Venom purists out there, like my good friend Seek from the Venom blog, that haven't enjoyed it as much as I have. But I'm kind of glad it's over. You know, we got a couple of big events in there. I think King in Black pretty much delivered the goods. You got exactly what you were expecting. You know, it was a good ending. I almost, after reading this, kind of wish that was the end. But we do get, this is kind of an epilogue and a prologue in one. We get a closing of the chapter on what Donny Cates is doing, resetting of the status quo, I guess, with what Al Ewing is going to take up. And we also get the last 10 pages, I believe, in this comic are written by, who is it? Philip Kennedy Johnson, who's going to be doing the Extreme Carnage event after this. We've also got 7 artists, including Ryan Stegman and Mark Bagley. We've got Kev Walker, Danilo Beyruth, Ron Lim, Guy Villanova, and Gerardo Sandoval. There's 7 artists on the book. It goes from amazing down to what I would consider kind of bad art. Some of it's not all that great. Specifically, the Flash Thompson and the first half of the Dylan Brock story, I didn't think they were all that well illustrated in comparison to what the rest of the book looked like, and I didn't think it flowed very well. They just kind of stood out. But I will definitely recommend this comic. I'm giving it like a 3. I was going to give it a 3.5 star, but there's some. I have concerns. Let's just put it that way. It's a 3-star recommend. If you're a fan of Venom, this is kind of must-read stuff, especially if you plan on reading the Al Ewing stuff. You're interested in the Philip Kennedy Johnson Extreme Carnage event. I think it's an event series. I don't know if it's like an event, but it's like an event series coming up. You know, a lot of groundwork is laid here. And I'll be honest, if you're like, Wes, you only give it a 3-star. How can you say this? Well, I'm going to say it. The most exciting hint of what's to come in Marvel in a few years. If they do what is hinted at in this comic book, I will be over the moon. Like, it's a great idea. If this is what's coming, and I imagine what's hinted in is going to be kind of what's introduced in Marvel's Free Comic Book Day and that Spider-Man Venom Free Comic Book Day that's coming up. I think that's in August. I might be wrong on that one. But I think this is the precursor, at least hinting to what that big end-of-year Venom event's going to be. And that's what it is. I'm going to be excited because it's really, really exciting. But there is a lot of, I don't know, it's a lot of slice of life kind of boring stuff. Of course, there's eating in here. There's also some new status quo changes that I'm just not in favor of at all. There's another one that I think might be interesting, but it all depends on what they're going to do with it, involving Flash Thompson. So there's a lot to cover. I'm not going to be able to cover the whole thing. There were a lot of revelations in this comic book. I will cover the best I can, and I'm going to break them in the sections. I'll start out with talking with Eddie Brock. We'll talk about the thing that I think could be absolutely amazing, and then we'll work our way to what I thought was the least exciting reveal at the very end of the review. But I do recommend it. It's just a mixed bag for me. But I guess you got to end the story somehow, and you're not going to beat the end of King in Black. So it was going to be hard to do that. So let's get into the comic book and talk about what's going on here, specifically with Eddie Brock. We do get a new status quo, and Eddie is a family man. Also, at some points, it feels like he's aged like 20 years since the end of King Black, but I think that might just be the artist. I don't know if that was the intention of what they're trying to do with the character, that him having all this new power where he's essentially Null now. He's in charge of the Hive. Or is he in charge of the Hive? We'll talk about that. I think they might have accidentally made him look much older than he really is in certain parts. This book really wants Eddie to be everything but Venom. And I think that is one of the big issues. He's a stay-at-home dad. And he's got a very odd living situation. I guess Tony Stark built him a new apartment where he can keep his connection to the Hive and take care of his son. But the old Venom no longer is concerned with Eddie anymore because Eddie has ascended. He's essentially a god now. And so he has taken the form of that I think it's a Rottweiler, where he's essentially looking after Dylan Brock. And Dylan's having some troubles in school. I believe he had detention. We've also got Scream here. It's just a really weird living situation. I didn't find it all that compelling. Here's the problem. Okay, we'll get into my supporting information, but here's the real problem with Eddie Brock now. Eddie Brock used to be one of the most, one of the easiest characters in all of comics to relate to. He's a good guy in his heart. He's done bad things, and he's got this thing within him, this Venom symbiote, that he really can't control. But over time, he learned to live with this bad thing and turn it into a good thing. And he's doing the best he can. Does he screw up every once in a while? Absolutely. But that is a character that I think, when we break it down to the bare bones, a character that you can definitely relate to. This new version of Eddie is absolutely unrelatable. He's essentially not even human anymore. When he's in his human form and you're reading this, the way I understand it is he's like a remote control car. His real conscience is somewhere else, and he's driving himself. And he's essentially taken his horde of symbiotes, and they're going to planets and, I guess, restoring things that Null and the symbiote army before had destroyed. They're freeing planets that have been taken over. They're like conquerors showed up. So he's doing that. At the same time, he's taking care of his son, but also at the same time, he's essentially meeting with Spider-Man and talking things out. But at the same time, he's also having a meeting with the Avengers, the Guardians of the Galaxy, the X-Men, and Silver Surfer, like all literally at once. Who is this Eddie Brock? Is this the Eddie Brock that we wanted? Listen, I don't know what they're going to do with Eddie Brock, but what I'm seeing here, this isn't Eddie Brock. I know it kind of destroys the character that a lot of people have fallen in love with or really relate to. And I don't know. Eventually, they will go back. I think they're going to have to, because if this is the way they're running with it, he's far too powerful. And that this isn't the Eddie Brock I think people sign up for. This isn't the Eddie Brock people pay money to read about. And I do think that's a problem. So I'm not overly fond. I'm on the fence. This could be good, but I don't like the idea of what they've turned him into. He's not omnipotent. He wants you to know that, but he is omnipresent. He's literally everywhere at once. We'll see. I think this is what Al Ewing is running with. And we'll see if he'll be able to work something with it. Obviously, Al Ewing does a lot of stuff with the Cosmos. Not exactly over the moon with the new status quo for Eddie Brock. Let's just put it that way. And I think the way that people are interacting with him and reacting to his newfound powers when his eyes start glowing and he's having meetings all at the same time is really strange. That's like, oh, that was cool. Is it really? Is it really? I'll disagree with on that one. Let's get to the thing that I think is absolutely very exciting. One of the things that was introduced, well, not introduced, but reintroduced into the Marvel Universe was the Maker, this weird, disfigured version of Reed Richards that's essentially insane from another universe. We saw him in Donny Cates' Venom run. He was able to escape after I think he used Eddie and Venom to fix his. I think it was a symbiote that Reed Richards himself had constructed. It's not a real symbiote, but he was able to do something with it, and they repaired it, and he went back to his universe. But one of the things that Eddie's doing as the new symbiote god is he's going around talking to all these teams and letting them know that Reed Richards, the Maker, is out there. He's part of the Council of Richards, or the Council of Reeds, I'm sorry, and that he is an imminent threat. And he's going to come back with his own army from the Ultimate Universe. How badass would that be? The Marvel 616 being invaded by the Ultimate Universe. We know we have a key figure from the Ultimate Universe in the 616 in Miles Morales. It could be really cool to highlight that character and really elevate him as far as Marvel Comics. And just the idea of the Maker having an entire army of ultimate characters and villains invading the 616 because their world's been destroyed is badass. If that's where they're going with this, and I think that is where they're going with this, I am on board. And this feels like, if you're going to do an event, this feels like it should be an event, right? The 616 versus the Ultimate Universe, an invasion. That's cool. And we have, and this part's kind of stupid though. We have Eddie Brock talking to all these teams, and he lets them know, this is not a battle I can fight on my own. It will take all of our might together to defeat. And then he gets interrupted. What are you talking about, man? You have an entire army of symbiotes. This army has destroyed galaxies, destroyed planets. It took over the entire planet of Earth. It took a miracle for them to be defeated, and you have that army at your disposal. You can't take out the Maker and some friends from the Ultimate Universe. Donny Cates is kind of downplaying just how enormously powerful this army that Eddie Brock wields that now. So him saying, I can't fight this on my own, is absolutely ridiculous. He would never fight it on his own. He has a billion symbiotes to back him up. So the idea that Eddie Brock would need help fighting anything is a bit ridiculous. They should probably put him into another multiverse for this event, so everyone else has to fight the Maker and the Ultimate Universe. Because really, if you think about it, the symbiote army should be able to defeat him with these. But whatever, I'm all on board for the 616 versus the Ultimate Universe. That's great. And they are recruiting, they being the Avengers, are recruiting Eddie Brock the entire time. And he's like, listen, I'm a stay-home dad now. No, you're not. You're an omnipresent God that's having meetings with dozens of groups all at the exact same time while trying to take care of your kid. You're not just a stay-at-home dad, but whatever. If that's what you want to call yourself, Eddie, go do that. And they said, well, we could use somebody. And he goes, I got somebody in mind. And that's when we get the second reveal that could be cool. And we see Flash Thompson has returned. We saw that in King in Black. He's walking down the streets. He's talking to himself. Does he want to tell his mom who had to bury him? And he's trying to kind of got a hood over his head. And we're starting to see some materials around the city that people are not fans of aliens, which kind of sets us up. He goes to this coffee shop and this lady's kind of flirting with him. And as that happens, these guys are called the guardsmen. They blow the head off of the coffee shop, like barista guy. And Eddie's like, you shot the wrong guy. You're supposed to be coming for me. And they're like, who the hell are you? We got the right guy. And then he gets his old symbiote suit on. They're like, well, we know what that suit is, but Flash Thompson's dead. You can't be him. And once again, we're not looking for you. We're looking for the barista. And there's this big fight that goes on, and it's somewhat interesting. This is a cool concept, I guess. I wish they would have left Flash Thompson dead, to be completely honest. But if you're going to bring him back, okay, let's do something cool with him. But then we find out that, in fact, the barista is a kid that had, I'm not sure what he had. He was sick and he was going to die, and he is bonded with one of the symbiotes that escaped during the King in Black event, the big battle. And they are hunting him down because he's an alien now. And what we're told from Eddie Brock specifically is the only symbiote in the entire universe that he is not completely aware what they are doing and seeing at all times is Venom. That's the only one that's been disconnected from the hive. How does he not know that he has symbiotes all over the world, inhabiting baristas? Or does he know? Is he a part of it? Is he a part of the conspiracy? This could be cool. The idea that you got all these symbiotes inhabiting the world that are scared and are, glad to be free of Null, I guess. And I guess that is going to be Flash Thompson's mission after this. I don't know. This could be cool. This could be dope. I wish they hadn't brought him back. This has potential. And then finally, let's get to the last reveal, the one that I definitely didn't like. The very first half of this is not well illustrated. The last half is illustrated by Ryan Stegman. It looks great. As I mentioned earlier, Dylan Brock is having trouble at schools. He's getting bullied and he has this daydream about like essentially murdering the kid that's bullied him. He comes back to his senses. He gets sent to the principal's office. He's got bruises on his face. He's being bullied. And then they're walking, he and Venom, the dog version of Venom, and somebody's getting mugged. And they go to intercede and help them, even though Dylan Brock is like 12 years old. And the mugger, which I believe is Jack-O-Lantern, attempts to shoot the Venom symbiote. The bullet goes right through Venom into Dylan Brock's chest. Oh my lord, what are they going to do? Shockingly, the only way to save him is for Venom himself to bond with Dylan Brock, and they become Venom. Eddie Brock isn't Venom anymore. We already knew that. He's the king of the hive. He is the king in black. And now Dylan Brock, who we thought, or I thought at least, heading into the King in Black would emerge as the new Venom. Coming out of it is new Venom. They bond. They go and tell Eddie what happened. And he's good with it. He's like, oh, yeah, that's good. I'm shocked it took this long. You know, you guys were gone for 6 hours. I'm shocked it took you this long to bond. And he's happy for him. Is this a good change? Is Dylan Brock an established enough character? Of course, Eddie Brock wouldn't have any issues with this. It's his son. Although, would Eddie Brock really want his son to have this kind of weight hanging on his shoulders? All the things that he's put his son through already, all the things he's been through because of his connection to Venom. Would he really want that for his son? Hard for me to believe that, but I'm not on board with this. I think this is the worst thing about this issue. Dylan Brock is not an established enough character to be Venom, and he's 12 years old. Do we really need a horror-themed 12-year-old superhero, like, well, anti-hero, I guess? I'm dubious. Let's put it that way. And this is the part that is written by Philip Kennedy Johnson. We know he's doing Extreme Carnage. Does this mean Extreme Carnage is him doing the Dylan Brock Venom stuff? What the hell is Al Ewing going to be doing when he relaunches Venom at #1? We do know it's going to be he and Ram V. This is what they say is next, and it's clearly Flash Thompson with Carnage in the background. So is this what Philip Kennedy Johnson is writing? Is he writing a Flash Thompson versus Carnage event? Is that what that is? I'm confused. What's Ram V doing? I thought initially when I was reading this, I was like, oh, okay, Al Ewing is going to write the like Eddie Brock story, and Ram V is going to do a backup story with Flash Thompson. And then we got the last reveal with Dylan as him being Venom. The stuff Al Ewing is doing has to be Eddie Brock because he always does with the Cosmos, and that is all space related. So I'm confused. We shall see what the future of Venom is, but this is the end, at least for Donny Cates' run on the character. He's handing off the baton to Al Ewing and Ram V on the main title, which is being reset to #1. And Philip Kennedy Johnson is also running with Extreme Carnage coming up here in the not too distant future. That is my review of Venom 200. It's a mixed bag, folks. I don't love it. I don't hate it, but I do love an aspect of this. If the maker leads an army from a broken ultimate universe to infiltrate and take over the 616, I am 100% down. That has the makings of an event that everyone would be out of their minds excited for. And Marvel does not set these things up very well, so I'm shocked that they've done it like this. And I imagine that has to be what they're setting up also in the Free Comic Book Day. I'm not a big fan of the new status quo with Eddie Brock. They've stripped everything that made the character interesting and, a fan favorite away from him now. He has no humanity. He's not a struggling, person struggling with this inner conflict and this inner demon that's part of him, and having to juggle that and make peace with himself and doing the best he can with the situation that he has. Now he is an omnipresent God that it can be in a billion places all at once. I think they have stripped everything that was cool about Eddie Brock away from him. We shall see if it's permanent. Perhaps Al Ewing and his plans for Eddie Brock in the future will make me eat my words, and I absolutely will if that is the case. But the Maker thing seems great. I'm on the fence with Flash. I'm leaning towards this is a good idea if you're going to bring him back, where he's hunting down symbiotes that have broken free and are on Earth, or if he's protecting them from the Guardians. They're the guardsmen. I imagine that's actually what he's going to be doing. That has a cool premise to it. I like Flash Thompson as Venom. I do not like the Dylan Brock as a new Venom. If there's a new Venom, it should be Flash Thompson. Get Dylan Brock away from Venom, if you ask me. That's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Were you excited about this? It feels like most people enjoy this a hell of a lot more than I did. And I did enjoy this comic book. But it was a mixed bag for me. It was meandering. I didn't think the art, it changed a lot. And I don't know why they had so many delays. You had 7 artists. Like, what the hell happened?